Hello, my name's Sue Lewis and I'm going to be running you through this webinar. And this webinar is all about the Pathway Planner. And the Pathway Planner is a tool that helps you decide the personal guidance requirements of young people by using the triage process. So this meets Gatsby 8 and also helps with Gatsby 3. The Careers Enterprise Company logo is there because we developed this through a bid we put into the National Careers and Enterprise Company last year around Gatsby 8. So this is a model we've developed through a pilot that's been funded through the Careers and Enterprise Company. So what I'm going to do in this presentation is just explain a bit what we did as part of that pilot that we had with 6 schools, show you some of the feedback from some of our users, but mainly I'm going to explain how you can get access to the Pathway Planner because it's now available to schools outside the pilot. So I'm going to time in this presentation to talk about Careerpilot, but the Pathway Planner is integrated into Careerpilot, some key features within the site that I will be mentioning. So just to explain, Careerpilot is a one-stop careers website for young people from year 7 to year 13. It started in the south of England, but certainly there's schools now outside of our region who are using Careerpilot. So we have a student zone, a reporting zone, an advisor zone, and a parent zone. And the Pathway Plan has been integrated into Careerpilot. So you do need to have Careerpilot first before you can use the Pathway Planner. So just a few things about Careerpilot. As I say, it's a one-stop careers website, and we have lots of information to help young people make informed decisions. But if they sign in, they can register straight on the site and then sign in. When they're using the site, they can be tagging the things they're interested in. And this helps to build their report. And that helps to populate your reporting zone. So you can see particular reports about the job sectors your students might be interested in, for example. You can also access the advisor zone and the parent zone from the main Careerpilot website. That's careerpilot.org.uk. We also have this 3-stage process to try to encourage students to come back to this whenever they have to make a careers decision. So Start With You is about showing them how to explore things that are pertinent to them, things that fit with their interests, their hobbies or their motivations. So there'll be quizzes and skills maps and things. We also have some online resources to help students that they could be doing at home. And we've got other things, activities for different ages as well. Stage 2 is explore your options. So here you can look at choices by age or look at all the different pathways or look at jobs or courses, apprenticeship vacancies, all sorts of things by looking at the detail of the options available. Plan your next steps is about how then you use all this information, your skills map, your report. But as you're going through planning your career, you can be using the action planner. So I mentioned the report that's accessible here, and it's quite detailed, so it really helps a guidance advisor if students have done this, because when they have the guidance with them, they've already got a lot of information about that student. At the end of guidance, they can add their own guidance reports here, and they're visible to the student and any other teacher who's got access to them. Or tutors could write a report as well. And that report moves up with them every year. So the idea is to keep changing, adapting their career decisions and interests as they learn more about themselves and about options. A new tool that will be launched in the next few weeks, the middle of September 2020, is to have a little dashboard, which is a summary, pulling in different bits of information from the main report. And that will be printable and will also include the Pathway Planner. So in terms of a bid into the Careers and Enterprise Company for funding under Gatsby 8, we had to show how we were going to help schools to meet Gatsby 8, which is a careers one-to-one session before student is 16 and the opportunity for a further one after 18. And we also had to show how we were going to meet the research evidence from the CEC called Personal Guidance, What Works. So these are the key principles of effective guidance. So our bid was all about showing how it would meet these requirements too. So the model that we developed and we piloted with 6 schools, with 60 year 11s and 40 year 12s, and all those schools now rolling it out right across those year groups, is the students will have all sorts of interventions within the school to do with understand their options. But on a particular day, they would be in the IT room for an hour, and that would be called the pre-guidance session. And that session, we would run through the different options available to them. So for year 11, it's about post 16. Year 12 about post 18, and that structured presentation would be followed by them having some time on Careerpilot to explore the ones they were interested in, For the last 10 minutes, they would do the new thing, which is called the Pathway Planner tool. So this would ask them about the pathways they were interested in and give them a quiz about each of those pathways. And that would enable them to see a red, amber, green score about how ready they were for that pathway. And the careers leader and the guidance advisor could then use that information to target guidance according to need at 3 different levels. Then they could set up the guidance, use Careerpilot through the guidance if they wanted to, and then record the report on Careerpilot. And in our model, 3-4 weeks after guidance, the tutors just took about 5 minutes, asked some key questions of the tutees to check whether they were still on track. And if they're at all concerned about them, then they could actually put them back into guidance. And to support the one-to-one session that the students got after the triage tool, we also had one lunchtime week at least of drop-in guidance, and there was also e-guidance and self-referral too. So I'm just going to run you through their model in a bit more detail. So the pre-guidance, 1-hour session in an IT room. We've designed presentations for schools to use, which seem to be working quite well, but are adaptable. And at the end of that session, they're going to do the Pathway Planner. So one thing we developed through the CEC money was an animated video to try to explain to students how they could be managers of their own careers so they could become career ready. So the video talks about them knowing themselves, doing stuff to build their CV, knowing all their options in detail, but also using their supporters like careers advisors. So what we wanted to do was also raise awareness of the importance of careers across the curriculum and the value of that careers guidance interaction. So what I'm going to do now is just show you one of our presentations, just the first few slides so you get a feel for what we were doing with the students in this pre-guidance session. So this is the one for year 12. So it started by a values survey, just which 3 of these values mostly drive you. Just give them an idea that what is important in terms of your career is that it fits with the things that are important to you and how you can use those things in order to think about the courses or the careers you might want in the future. Then we would show our video and we'd have the key points from the video. And then we'd go through each of those in a bit more detail, showing them how on Careerpilot they could do activities to know about themselves. They could do quizzes about their job interests. They could start with the subject and see where he led. They could do the skills map and see what skills they had and think about how they might use those in the future. And they could do our qualification ladder and see where their qualifications might lead. They could also do stuff, which was a key thing about building up your skills and your CV. And we acknowledge that the number one priority in 12 and 13 will be your A levels or your BTECs if you're in school. But, there's other things you might be doing too. And our message is don't drop them because these are going to be great for your CV. Keep those things going. And knowing all your options is the focus of the session we're doing with students today. So we're going to show them the pathways, the levels, kind of what they've done already, where they might be now, what could they choose in the future, and just showing them how all the pathways lead up to a degree. And this is the point of decision we're talking about specifically today. And then we had a little bit about each of those pathways just to remind them of the key information or just to give them little quizzes to show them some key things. So this is asking them, how do you become a nurse? Is it through a degree or apprenticeship? And there are pathways in through both. Dentist, just the one. Solicitor, pathways through both. But then also showing them that if you have a job idea in mind, you can't assume there will be an apprenticeship. You do need to check that out. And we have an A to Z of all the available apprenticeships on Careerpilot. And then even if there is one, you still have to find one, like finding a job. So we'll just give them key information about the different pathways at 18. And then we give them time to explore those on Careerpilot. So we give them particular activities to do. And for the last 10 minutes, we get them back and explain about the Pathway Planner, and they would do that. So the Pathway Planner will show in the career tools if you decide to sign up for it. So the way that works is particular pathways for post 16 and post 18. This is the post 18 one. So here the pathways been talking about right through this session with the students. So which ones now are they considering, or they're definite about, or they're definitely not doing? So they have to answer for each of the pathways. And for the ones they're definite or considering, they then do a quiz And the quiz is trying to find out how much they know about their pathway. Are they informed enough to make a good quality decision? So I'm definitely want to go to university, because if they say no, then that would be a point of concern. So some of these questions have a red rating at the back. So the scoring is not something the students see, but they can say yes, think so, no. And that does indicate to them the gaps in their own knowledge. But what they get then is a red, amber, green score about each of the pathways. So this student is definitely by doing university. If they come out amber, which probably means there's a few things that they maybe not clear about. They're considering apprenticeships, but they're red. That means there's probably quite a few things they don't understand about that. So what this helps us to do then is for them to see, how ready they are, so they can maybe start looking at Careerpilot and get more information. But also it helps us to target guidance according to need. So everybody's going to get a careers interview, but they will be at different levels. The students don't know that, but we at the back end know that. Note 2 at the top here, they can look at a timeline, which I'll talk about later. And after the first session, they can also request additional guidance through the system too. So this meets Gatsby 8. For our pilot, if they were green, they got a 20-minute check of their plan, because they sound pretty sorted. We would just want to check that out. If they're amber, they were 30 minutes, and red, or if they had additional needs, or if they're thinking about the apprenticeship pathway, which could be a bit complicated, they got 60 minutes. So that's the student side. I'm just going to show you how this works from the staff side now. So if you decide to have access to the pathway planner, then and you've already got access to reporting zone, you can see certain things in there, you will now have the pink bit here, results and bookings. And what that will show you is by student what pathway they're interested in and how ready they are for that pathway. So this top student, sample 1, they're definitely by A levels and they're green. So that would be a 20-minute, let's check your plan. So in our system, definite trumps considering, although obviously when they do come along, you will just check out their second choice option as well. So there's particular actions you could take at this point. You could view their answers. So if you've got a lot of greens, you can look at what the stumbling block seems to be, and you can group students together a bit and then give them a little individual session later. You can view their timeline, which I'll show you in a minute. You can book guidance, and after guidance, you can make a record, do a little record of where you think they are firming up on now. And the tutor record of follow-up can be here as well, and advisor comments can be accessed from here as well. So if you want to book an appointment, you can put in what the session might be called. So in your school, it might be called quiz guidance or whatever it might be called. And then you can put in the date, time, and then you could say what sort of guidance they could be getting. Long, medium, or the check-in. You can also, if they do drop into your lunchtime session, you can record that as well. So everything that you've done for that student will be attributed to them in the system. They will get an email reminder about the session, but you can't guarantee they're going to turn up. So use the usual system of chasing them up. We've got these minutes, but some schools will flex that a bit to fit in with their particular circumstances. You can view all bookings, so you can see everything. And if a student doesn't turn up, you can put did not attend, and that'll appear on their timeline as well. You can download this information and put it into spreadsheets and play with it whatever way you want. So this is the timeline I've mentioned. So the student can see this from their area, and you can see it from the reporting zone. So this is showing where a student was on a particular date. Shows the interventions. This person had a long careers guidance session. And at the end of the guidance, you'll get them to edit their pathway planner results, because all the time you're providing information and helping them to kind of move forward in terms of their understanding. So what we're trying to do is get students to the point where they're green or amber before they get the results. So this is part of Gatsby 3, meeting the individual needs of students, intervening when you can see there's an issue. So then you'll be using pathway plan results to allocate personal guidance according to 3 different levels, red, amber, green. And you use other information as well. It might be you already know, their grades are not going to get them to 6th form. And even though they think they know a lot about it, you might want to give them additional time because of that. But before guidance then, the guidance advisor has a lot of information to support the conversation they're going to have with young people. They've got the report, they've got the results, they've got the answers to the questions. And we found the guidance advisors really liked having this level of information about the student before they met them, because then they could think about how they're going to target their session. After the guidance report can be written straight onto Careerpilot, and any actions agreed with the student, that's all visible to the student as well as other teachers. So then in our model, 3 or 4 weeks after guidance, the tutors were asked to follow up, and we were a bit worried about whether tutors would feel it was be a bit too overwhelming. But in fact, we got really positive feedback from tutors. And the whole idea is they're going to ask them a few questions, and if they're worried about them, they're going to feed them back in for guidance. So the tutor training took about 25 minutes, and we've got a recording of that, so they can even do it from home. So the 3 questions that we asked them to ask the students took about 5 minutes per student. Are you clear about which pathway? How are you getting on with your actions? Do you feel you have the information you need to move on in your chosen pathway? And if they were worried, then they would feed them back in. And then the guidance advisor could pick up on that. They could maybe have a drop in. It wasn't like we were going to have a whole other hour, but you want to touch base with kids who were still worried after a guidance intervention. It also meant the tutors knew a lot more about their tutees. That was the feedback we got a lot. They found it quite easy to use, and they learned an awful lot, and they could have quite good discussions with their tutees about what they wanted to do. After guidance, the guidance advisor can also make a quick record for themselves, the student doesn't see this, of which pathway the student now seems to be firming up on, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 still, and whether they seem to be definite or considering. They can actually start to put in the advisor now what particular subjects or course that student wants to do, and also how likely they are to get those grades. So it's a bit like a record for your own purposes as guidance advisor. And this is where the tutors can put in when they followed up and where they want to tag somebody for additional support. And that's all visible through reports in the system. We were interested to know from students whether the different levels of guidance met their needs. If they got 20 minutes, was that enough? And our survey, we had different surveys for if you had green guidance, amber or red, you did a different survey with similar questions. So did the guidance session help you explore your options? You can see there's not much difference between the different levels of guidance. So this is out of 5. How useful the career guidance session has been to you, you can see again, there's not a great lot of difference. And in the main, it was 80% of students said that getting the 20 minutes met their needs. In fact, sometimes the red students said there wasn't long enough, even if they'd had an hour. So, sometimes it's down to the level of students. But we felt that in the main, this process met the needs of more students. And if you're at all worried about them, you could always get them back in for a drop-in. So it was quite fail-safe, and there was a safety net there for students for whom this didn't quite work for them. We had brilliant feedback from the project, from the students, from people at the school. SLT felt, at last they had a strategic way of allocating guidance. The school guidance advisors found it really useful too. So on Careerpilot in the Advisor Zone, there's a whole tile which is about our project, and there's lots of quotes there and case studies from our schools as well, if you want to look at that. So it's now available to roll out to other schools. We've had about 70 schools sign up already. There is a small charge for this because this is kind of above and beyond what Careerpilot often for free. So there is a one-off cost. So it is one-off. You don't have to pay every year, of £299 as long as you sign up by the end of September, probably extended to October in reality. But if you come to a webinar or you're listening to this presentation because you missed the webinar, then we will reduce the cost to £249. And what you get for that is you get a training, which is compulsory. You have to come on a 2.5-hour training session where we give you all the materials, switch the pathway planner on, but also show you how you set the groups up so you can make full advantage of all the reports in the site. You'll get all the lesson plans and the presentations, and you'll also become part of a membership group where we're trying to pull together people who are using the pathway planner to find out about models of practice so we can share how we do things, but also look about how we can develop it for the future. If you want to now sign up for the Pathway Planner, this is how you do it. You can go to the Advisor Zone, which is in the top bar of the home page. There's a tile called Pathway Planner. If you go into it, towards the bottom of that page, you can sign up for the Pathway Planner. When you sign up, then you say who's going to pay. So there might be a school or maybe a third-party organisation. And then you would sign up for a training date. And as I said, those are compulsory. So you've got one set up for the 16th of October, one for the 22nd of October, but we might have one or two others. Just a few other things to tell you. We have a free training for schools and colleges who are Careerpilot schools. Some we can do for your school. So Careerpilot training for your staff, if you want that. Or we could do a one-to-one consultation for careers leaders about how to implement it and meet Gatsby. But we've also a program of webinars. So this one is the introduction to the Pathway Planner, but you can see this up for careers leaders, and there's introductions to Careerpilot, how to use the reporting zone, and what's new on Careerpilot is another one as well. So if you have any questions, then you can get in touch with our helpline, which is available from 9 to 3 every day in term time. Probably best to use the email currently, careerpilot@bath.ac.uk. Thank you so much for coming along and listening, and do let me know if there's anything else you need from me.